What caused the tensions under Communist China's peaceful surface to erupt in a bloodbath in 1966? China was already battling famine, poverty, and corruption. However, the atrocities that characterized the Cultural Revolution began with propaganda. Propaganda has been used through the ages in many countries and for many purposes. It has had many uses, including political campaigns, the promotion of patriotism, the creation of a celebrity's image, or the promotion of a product. However, it can be twisted, like the propaganda the Nazis used for the dehumanization of the Jews and the elevation of Hitler to power. The propaganda used during the Chinese Cultural Revolution was designed to promote a feeling of nationalism and place its leader in a godlike position. China was traditionally a Buddhist society, but in the revolution, propaganda condemned every form of religion and termed it anti-revolutionary. Churches and temples were shut down and destroyed, while believers were imprisoned. A new deity was created. His name? Chairman Mao. Mao began the Communist Party in China in 1921 and was instrumental in overthrowing China's monarchy. He went from being nothing but a farm boy to one of the most influential and powerful leaders of all time. He was a radical leader who led many revolutions over the course of his lifetime, including the Communist Revolution, the Great Leap Forward, and the Proletarian Cultural Revolution. Aiming to end China's dependence on agriculture in order to become a world power, Mao organized the Great Leap Forward in 1958, an effort to modernize the agricultural nation of China in only 5 years. The plan called for farmers to plant a variety of unproven and unscientific new agricultural techniques in the new communes, which divided China into geographical sections containing about 5,000 families. These families no longer worked for themselves but for the commune. In an effort to win favor with their superiors, each level in the party exaggerated the amount of grain produced by the communes under them. The result of the Great Leap Forward was a mass famine that took the lives of between 2 million and 5 million people, in addition to the estimated 6 million people who were sent to labor camps in order to reform and later perished. This failure resulted in Mao's virtual political exile for 7 years and the Chinese leadership moving away from pure communistic ideals. Mao is politically banned, but still the charismatic face of the Communist Party. In 1966, Mao devised a plan to get China back on the communist path. Mao decided that a cultural revolution would displace the ruling class and put China into a state of constant upheaval. The play Drama of the Ming Mandarin, which criticized Mao, gave him a chance to implement his plans. His denouncement of the drama, in turn, condemned everything in the realm of culture and art. Mao called for a cultural revolution and the eradication of the four olds: old customs, old culture, old habits, and old ideas. To execute this scheme, he needed extreme propaganda to create a cult of personality. Some of the propaganda used to create Maoism included his swim across the Yangtze River to prove he was still fit at the age of 72, posters glorifying him, articles written in his favor, operas singing his praises, the soldier Li Feng's diary, speeches in which everyone agreed with him, and the most famous example, the Little Red Book. The Little Red Book was a collection of quotes by Mao urging the further upends of the Communist Party and the destruction of anything anti-revolutionary. It was carried by his supporters and memorized like a holy work. Carrying the Little Red Book was a sign that a person was for Mao and opposed anyone against him. If one did not carry the Little Red Book, then one was marked as a traitor and suffered greatly. His quotes from the Little Red Book were repeated in public meetings and at school as part of the curriculum. The youth in particular were a strong part of the revolution, emphasizing the rejection of all things old. They were brainwashed by Mao's supposed good deeds, and were raised to believe that Chairman Mao could do no wrong, that his word was final. All over China they formed the infamous Red Guards, a group of aggressive high school and university students formed into paramilitary units. The Red Guard played a major role in Mao's revolution, as well as in the spread of propaganda all across the country. The Red Guards were known for their torture methods and forced false confessions. In an interview with Chao Wen-li, he told how educators were tortured and killed. His girlfriend's father, a teacher, stayed late one night at school and the Red Guards came in, took him outside and shot him.
Our headmaster had been really good to us, but even he couldn't escape. We didn't hate him personally, but he represented bourgeois values, so we had to attack him.
The entire country was afraid to get on the bad side of the Red Guards, afraid of being called counter-revolutionary. Soon, the Red Guards were completely out of control. They went on rampages and destroyed cities all across China. Not even the police could diminish the revolutionary fervor. Chaos erupted all across China. Schools were shut down because of the lack of students and faculty members. The factories shut down from the lack of workers, which slowed the production of the country's industries. Peasants attended meetings instead of attending to their crops, which were left to wither and die, causing another great famine. The governing forces behind the Red Guard were the Gang of Four, composed of Jiang Qing, Mao's wife, and 3 other Communist Party officials. They employed many different types of propaganda to brainwash the population as well as suppress the truth. They recited the Little Red Book all across China, opposing anyone who they thought was anti-revolutionary by attacking them in the mass media. Propaganda techniques they used to create the cult of Mao included assertion, bandwagon, destruction of the opposition. Assertion, a technique that is used to present enthusiastic statements that require no questions to be asked, was used on posters and mainly comprised of the quotes in the Little Red Book, such as, "The force at the core leading our cause forward is the Communist Chinese Party. The theoretical basis guiding our thinking is Marxism-Leninism." Bandwagon, which asserts that the side of the most followers must be correct, shamed thousands into joining the cult of Mao. If anyone was not swayed by these techniques, they were publicly tortured and sometimes killed. Because of these tactics, almost all of China was forced into Maoism. The general public hated the Gang of Four, and the Four were blamed for all the horrific events that followed, mass chaos and the destruction of a proud history of culture and education. Because of the pressure to destroy the Four Olds, the youth in China got beyond even Mao's control. In December of 1968, Mao began the campaign Down to the Countryside movement, which with hundreds of thousands of privileged urban teens sent to rural areas for re-education so they could learn from the peasants. The young people were forced to work long, grueling hours in the fields, away from their families. The real reason was that Mao wanted the chaos to stop before the country erupted in civil war.
就是为个人的名义利益着想。
In 1976, the Cultural Revolution was losing steam. Although Mao was still beloved, people were crying for reform. The Red Guard were dispersed. Finally, a huge earthquake erupted at Changshan. The general public believed the earthquake to be an omen. Many of the leading officials in the revolution died during the year. A few months later, on September 9, 1976, Mao died at the age of 82 of a heart attack. His death was the official end of the revolution, but propaganda had created such a reverence for him that mass mourning followed his death. Less than 2 months after Mao's death, the public began denouncing the Gang of Four. All four eventually received life sentences in prison. Propaganda has not disappeared in China. The government still controls what information the public receives, only circulating information that is good for its image. The World Wide Web within China is regulated with its own Chinese Google. Websites such as Facebook and MySpace, as well as other online chat forums, are banned. News feeds to and from anywhere outside of China are also banned. The government has strict control over television, radio, and newspapers, monitoring the general public's access to information. The government and the people are in denial about the events that occurred during the revolution. People are discouraged from speaking of this dark time as it is a delicate subject at school and at work. The idea is to move forward by forgetting the past, and changes have happened since the time of Mao. As author Yung Chang stated in the interview with HarperCollins, there is no longer the kind of control that Mao used to have. There have been deep, fundamental changes in society. The most important change, perhaps, is the regime has lost the kind of control Mao used to have, the totalitarian regime. They can have control of the media, perhaps prevent people from forming opposition parties, but they can't have control of the whole of society.